Baer's Eradispeed Plus 2-piece brake rotors are the fastest and easiest way to improve your Mustang's stopping power and braking distances. Our Eradispeed Plus rotors are a true 2-piece rotor upgrade for your Mustang S650 with Brembo packages, including the GT with Brembo, Performance Pack, and Dark Horse. Eradispeed Plus rotors get mounted to a black anodized 6061 T6 aluminum hat using NAS aircraft-grade hardware. We use purpose-cast rotors with increased mass in the friction area to promote uniform heat absorption and dissipation. Drilled and slotted rotor faces help evacuate any moisture and remove brake dust, increasing the brake pad to rotor contact friction. And for you performance enthusiasts that spend a lot of time at the track with your car, Eradispeed Plus rotors are also available in slotted only for the front and rear. Internally, the curved vane design helps maximize airflow for better cooling. Cooler rotors means less brake fade and more consistent braking power. Baer's 2-piece rotor design doesn't just enhance your Mustang's appearance, it helps shed some weight and improves the braking ability of your Mustang compared to the stock rotors. All these benefits at an affordable price, and best of all, Eradispeed Plus rotors are a direct bolt-on solution that doesn't require any brake bleeding or fabrication to install. If you think that this install is over your head, or you just want to see how easy a true Baer bolt-on kit really is, follow along while I install these Eradispeed Plus brake rotors on our S650 Performance Pack Mustang. Before starting the install, it's important that you put the Mustang into brake maintenance mode. Failure to do this will set off multiple dash lights and it requires a scan tool to reset them. To activate the brake maintenance mode, press the engine start button but do not start the engine. Now simultaneously press on the accelerator and push down on the parking brake lever at the same time and hold them. Now turn the ignition off and back on. Your brake light should be now flashing. You can release it and you should get a message on your dash saying that you're in brake maintenance mode. Once the brake maintenance mode is engaged, you can shut the vehicle off and start the install. Begin the install by lifting the front end of the vehicle off the ground using a jack. Support the vehicle using jack stands that are rated for your vehicle's weight, placing them in the factory designated position. Or if you have one available, you can use a lift. Next, you can remove the lug nuts and the front wheel from the vehicle. The factory lug nuts will be reused following the rotor installation. Remove the 2 bolts securing the brake caliper to the knuckle. Keep the hardware. We'll reuse it when we reinstall the calipers following the installation of our new Eradispeed Plus rotors. Carefully remove the caliper from its position on the rotor and support the caliper inside the vehicle wheel well with a bungee or some wire. Disconnecting the caliper from the brake hose is not necessary. Never suspend the brake caliper by the brake hose. This can damage the hose, which will require replacement and proper bleeding of the brake system. Now we can pull the existing brake rotor off the hub. You may have to use a rubber mallet to break it free. Inspect the hub mounting face for any debris or rust that could cause the new brake rotors from fully seating against the hub surface. A quick brushing and wipe down with a cloth should do the trick. As an extra precaution, I like to go ahead and wipe down both sides of the rotor surface using some brake clean and a clean cloth. That way you can remove any of the contaminants or oil that may have occurred during shipping. Carefully install the new rotors onto the appropriate side. Eradispeed rotors are directional, so refer to the included rotor direction and installation instructions if the rotors aren't marked or you're not certain. Temporarily secure the rotor to the hub using 2 or 3 lug nuts. This will help prevent scratching the rotor face. Carefully reinstall the caliper back onto the rotor and secure it to the factory mounts on the knuckle using the hardware that we removed earlier. Then torque the caliper mounting hardware per the manufacturer's torque specs. Remove the previously installed lug nuts from the studs and reinstall the wheel onto the vehicle. Tighten all 5 lug nuts, then remove the jack stand and drop the vehicle back onto the ground. Finish the install by tightening the lug nuts to the manufacturer's torque specs. And that's all there is for the front. Now we can work our way to the back of the vehicle. Lift the rear of the vehicle using a jack and support the vehicle using the appropriate rated jack stands in the factory designated positions, just like we did on the front. Or if you have access to a lift, use it. Carefully remove the rear wheel from the vehicle. The factory lug nuts will be reused following our installation. Next, remove the 2 bolts securing the brake caliper to the vehicle. Hang on to this hardware. We'll need to reuse it when we reinstall the caliper following the installation of our new Eradispeed Plus rotors. Carefully remove the caliper from its position on the rotor and support the caliper inside the vehicle wheel well with a bungee or some wire. Disconnecting the caliper from the brake hose is not necessary. You should never suspend the caliper by the brake hose. This can damage the hose, which will require replacement and proper bleeding of the brake system. Remove the 2 bolts securing the park brake caliper to the vehicle. Retain this hardware. You will need it to reinstall the parking brake caliper later. Remove the existing brake rotor from the hub. It may require a hit from a dead blow or rubber mallet to free it up. Inspect the hub mounting face for any debris or rust that could cause the new brake rotors from fully seating against the hub itself. A quick brushing should do the trick. Once again, I like to go ahead and just spray a little brake clean on both sides of the rotors and wipe them down good, just to get any grease or dirt off from them. Carefully install the new rotors onto the appropriate side. The rotors are directional, so refer to the included rotor direction and installation instructions if they're not marked or you're not sure. Temporarily secure the rotor to the hub using 2 or 3 lug nuts to prevent scratching. With the new rotor on, carefully reinstall the parking brake caliper to the vehicle using the factory hardware that we removed earlier. Torque the hardware to the factory specs, then reinstall the electrical connector onto the parking brake actuator if you removed it earlier to gain access to the bolt. Next, carefully reinstall the caliper onto the vehicle using the factory hardware that was removed earlier. Now torque the caliper hardware to the factory specs. Remove the 2 lug nuts that we temporarily installed onto the wheel studs, then reinstall the wheel and tighten all 5 lug nuts. Then you can remove the jack stand from underneath the vehicle and drop the vehicle back onto the ground and tighten all the lug nuts to the manufacturer's specs. Repeat the installation process for the opposite side of the vehicle. Make sure you take the vehicle out of the brake maintenance mode before you perform a test drive. And for the best performance and pad life, be sure to perform the rotor seasoning and pad bedding procedures outlined in the supplied promotional packet. To take the vehicle out of brake maintenance mode, push the ignition button to the on position but do not start the vehicle. Simultaneously press on the accelerator and pull up on the emergency brake. Then press and hold the brake pedal at least 1 to 2 seconds. Release the brake, turn the ignition off and back on, then release the pedal and the handle. And that's it. With the Eradispeed Plus rotors from Baer, your vehicle will stop consistently better, fade less, and look good doing it too. To learn more about our Eradispeed Plus rotors from Baer or to see our full line of braking solutions, visit us at baerbrakes.com.